Alright, so you guys are probably wondering, how in the world are you supposed to get large plants in Plants vs Brainrots? Okay, so it's a little tricky to do this organically, alright? Unfortunately, there were people duplicating things and kind of ruined that thing for everybody, so a lot of people assume that a majority of these big plants are duplicated. And clearly that's a big fat no-go, so that's not a good thing. It's a no-brainer that you guys can go ahead and trade inside of the Discord community for big plants, big brainrots. But what if you want to just do this on your own? Now, I'll be honest with you guys, this is going to require a lot of time. Not only because you're going to have to pretty much just get a ton of seeds that you really need, but you're going to have to either do this when you're not at your device, such as your computer, your laptop, and I'm not too sure if you're able to do this on like your phone, tablet, stuff like that. But what I like to do once in a great while is set up an auto clicker to go ahead and automatically buy everything inside of the shop. I kind of graduated from sunflowers and everything like that, so I kind of focus on grapes, watermelons, carnivorous plants, the tomatoes, the choco tank, anything that would be of greater value. Now remember, when you are doing this, the rarer something is, the less likely it will become a huge plant. So I do have these 3 plants here, maybe even 4. This Shrombino, this choco tank, this carnivorous plant, and this other carnivorous plant over here, which is a little bit more bigger. Now, I wouldn't consider these to be like huge Titanic-sized plants, but these are things that I'm currently working on. And to be completely honest with you, even on the wiki page for Plants vs Brainrots, there's nothing that indicates a chance size for these. I mean, aside with all the duplications and all of these weird things that have been happening, the good news is that they did buff the carnivorous plant, the choco tank, but they slightly nerfed grape. And this was about a few days ago. This was probably like 4 days ago, 5 days ago or so. So if you're trying to get a larger plant, just know that carnivorous and the choco tank are probably going to be the most common ones that you currently see inside the game so far. And this can be for trading, stuff like that. Just figured I would throw that out there for those that may not know. So for this, what we are going to go ahead and do is test out how often am I going to be able to get a huge plant out of these 2 seeds. Remember, the carnivorous plant and the choco tank both have been buffed. So this should be able to turn larger compared to everything else that I do have on my plot. Now this does make more sense because clearly look at the sizes of these right here. Maybe with the exception with a couple of choco tanks that did not get bigger pretty much, but still, we're gonna have to take that risk and go ahead and remove some things and see what ends up happening. And to make things a little bit more quicker, I am going to go ahead and get some water buckets. I am extremely low on these, so if you're trying to like hurry up and get a ton of huge plants, try to also farm a ton of these water buckets to make the process go so much more faster. Okay, we got to pick up a couple of these guys up. I'm pretty sure if I actually just get rid of all of these, I should be somewhat okay. So we're going to go ahead and put the choco tanks right here. That's all 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the carnivorous plants. And we're gonna go ahead and grab the water bucket. We have 16 of these. This is not gonna get rid of all of the time, but it should get rid of a majority of it. Thank goodness it's not gonna take an hour. This mango thing took literally an hour, but water bucketed up and it took 10 minutes to go ahead and get it all down. Okay, so I'd say right about here, and we should be good to get a good amount of these things written down. Look at that. Look at that. And you guys can go ahead and water these all the way up to the time that you're comfortable waiting with. I like to go all the way down to like 1 minute or so because I'm impatient. If you want to wait 2 minutes, that's absolutely fine. But because I'm impatient, I want to go ahead and make sure that it pretty much waters instantly. Of course, you could go ahead and hit the grow all button, but I would definitely not do this expecting that you're going to immediately get something big. I would ever only do that is if I ever ended up getting a ton of these mango seeds or something that's definitely worth putting all over my plot and I just don't feel like waiting. That's the only time I would ever use the grow all button. But for something to expect instantly, immediately, huge, no, do not do it. Okay, some something amazing has happened. So all of my plants grew out, and the great news is the choco tanks exploded. So we're gonna go ahead and pick this one up because this is the largest one that we have so far. I would say that these right here are probably your average sizes right over here. Maybe even this little baby one. However, we have one that's like triple the size of what it is normally, maybe even more. It's so big that I'm pretty much the entire tank. Now, this is the downside, or at least I would like to think and assume that this would be a downside. It may or may not depend on some factors pretty much. Because this choco tank right over here and the carnivorous plant technically did get a huge buff, these are going to be the most common things that you see so far in the game that are going to be larger than normal. But I guess the good thing is it's only going to be more common if you're able to pretty much AFK grind buying these inside of the seed shop every 5 minutes or so if they have a chance of coming up. And even then, it doesn't mean every single seed is going to immediately be wombified. Now I am going to go over here and pick up the other one that I ended up getting. This one is 4.1 kilograms. So, I mean, this is the second largest one that I ended up growing. And to be real, they're not far off. This was what, 4.9? Yeah, this one was 4.9 kilograms. So that one's actually still pretty large. And this is something that I figured I would really say too, because if you're a collector who wants really big plants, then this plays a huge part because damage-wise, this guy does 9.8 thousand damage, which is really good. This even beats any of the secrets that I have all the way back here, except for this golden one, and even all of these Mr. Carrots all the way in the back. By default, this actually beats all of them. Of course, the mango that I currently have right now is double the damage that it does. So this plays a huge part on just being able to get something really big and doing a lot more damage than your other stuff, which by default makes it a little bit more valuable than your other things. Now, here's a bit of advice. Now, I like to hold on to things that are a little bit big, obviously of value, because mostly it's easy to get the seed. I can wait all day for the seed and I don't mind collecting all of them. What's hard though is growing it and waiting for that chance to make it large. Now, just because that these are buff doesn't mean that they will not receive in the future a nerf. Remember, you can have too many things that are good happening in a game, but once that one thing happens and it gets taken away, then it becomes valuable. Hopefully I made sense out of that. I don't know if I made sense out of that. I'm just holding on to it because you just never know. One of these days, Choco Tank might get a nerf or the carnivorous plant might get a nerf and it might become more valuable than it already is because you just made it bigger. If you're probably wondering what are the chances for any of these to actually get really big, the answer is fairly simple. No, just flat out no. I have not seen anything on percentage chances of growing something large. You could get 10 choco seed tanks, plant them, and kind of do your own math there. One of them out of the 10 might grow big. You don't know. But on the Wiki page, there is nothing on percentage chances on how large something might get. Kind of like how Grow a Garden has on their Wiki. There's like a percentage chance of like your plant growing really big. We don't have that for this game. At least not yet that I've seen so far. So we'll take a look at the Choco Tank within the Wiki page. You have the overview, the appearance, you have the obtainment, you have the trivia for it. I don't even know why it has a trivial fact for this thing. It's a chocolate tank with eyes. The only thing that it does have is the Choco Tank has a 2% chance to be in stock, but really nothing about a percentage chance of it pretty much growing bigger. And here's something food for thought for those that might be wanting to get something really valuable. If you do want to get larger things over here, and if you want to make it more valuable, such as a higher damage multiplier, right? Wait until an event starts. In theory, you can go ahead and plant these down whenever you want. You might have a chance of getting a golden, a diamond, stuff like that, right? But you can also get it to become frozen and neon. I love the frozen one, just mostly because it will slow down brain rots when it comes into the vicinity for it. And it's really, really good, especially if you're trying to fight a boss or even one of the eggs that might be really good. And I'm mostly talking about like these eggs here. I don't have the other ones because I've already opened them on stream, but it really does help it out. I feel like getting these mutated too also add a very high layer of becoming more valuable. I'm not too worried about this because this was made for a video for today, and I have no problem going ahead and AFK in this one little area yet again to try to get a ton of these seeds once more. So in short, if you're trying to get a bunch of these larger plants, start off with the choco tank and with the carnivorous plant. Those are going to be the most common ones that you can go ahead and get right now organically. Otherwise, you will have to go into the trading section within the Discord server and try to figure out the values of certain things so you guys can go ahead and trade for those. Though I do have to heed warning though, be careful of duplicated things because I heard they're still a thing and they are still being traded around. And apparently they may or may not become deleted. So try not to get yourself scammed or in trouble by doing this. Not my method because we're doing the organic way, but trading for other things that you might not know. And better yet, not even my method. This is all of our method. Maybe you might even get lucky and get a larger Strombino or a Mr. Carrot or a little tomato trio. But try to AFK as many seeds as you can get throughout the entire day and you just might get lucky. But if you're brand new to my channel, hi, I do a lot of things. Make sure you guys like the video as it does help me come up with more content like this for you guys. I don't know the theme song. Woo. And until then, I will see you guys all in the next video. I can't